Thank you for joining us this evening for the community chats. We're here with Scott MacDonald of SB MacDonald Custom Instruments. And he's here to chat about the instrument creation and restoration process, among other fun and enjoyable things. Scott, how'd you get involved in, how'd you get started?
That's a 15-minute question. Be careful with that. I was producing and directing commercials and videos in New York City. I was an animation guy. And I hit 30 years old. I hated my life. I got tired of selling toothpaste and candy bars and dental floss and shampoo and using my film school background to basically just keep advertising agencies employed. And I walked off the set one day. And I made a guitar in my apartment in Forest Hills, and it didn't explode when I put the strings on it. And I heard that Field of Dreams thing, if you make them, they will come, something like that. And I've been doing it now for 30 years as a full-time career. And I've been up here for 3 now. I just started my 4th year this month.
Awesome. So you make instruments from scratch essentially, and then you also repair vintage instruments that come into you from around the world, right?
Yeah. I'm an authorized repair center for Martin, Taylor, and Gibson. So I do warranty work for all of them, and I get a lot of them. In fact, Taylor and Martin, I'm the only one in the state.
Oh, wow.
And I've worked at both factories with them side by side, so I know their guitars, and I get a lot coming in, despite the lack of population in Vermont. Living in the middle of the woods, which was always my dream, where nobody can even find you on a good day, but they're finding me, and I'm here, and it's wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah.
So as you know, I have a background actually on vocals, vocal music. I was trained as a jazz blues and did some light opera into my early and mid 20s. But I don't really know much about the process of creating an instrument. Could you walk us through?
Well, you're a bit of a chef, aren't you?
Yeah, my professional career for the last 10 years or so was in spirits and food. And then I switched over to working with...
Well, when you're making a great meal or a cocktail, you see it all in your head first. You get all your ingredients together, you get your mise en place, you get everything together, but you see it here first, right?
Yep.
And it's no different. Guitar making is just like any other art form. You come up with a concept, and it's going to change under your fingertips, just like a recipe could change in the skillet. You get an idea of something, but it's a constantly changing palette. But you have a plan, and then the artist in you says, "Wait a minute, maybe if I did this 1% differently to the right or the left," and because your materials talk to you. And it's the same with paint or clay or anything. Mm-hmm. You start with a concept and you see it in your head, and then these guys take over. Yeah.
Okay. What type of wood are you working with typically?
Pretty much all of the traditional guitar woods, mahogany and rosewood and spruce and cedar. Walnut is great. Koa. I have a bunch of wood I can show you in a bit. And each wood has different tonal properties, and not everybody really understands it. There's a lot of cliche thought about rosewood does this and mahogany does that, and it's sort of a general rule. But you can bend those rules and shape them in different ways to make different sounds come out. And so I don't like to use rainforest wood. I like to use, unless it's old stock that's already been in existence, and I've got quite a bit of that. I just got 3 neck blanks in of beautiful African mahogany that have been laying around forever. And I'll probably be able to get 6 necks out of that. In fact, you can see it. I'll walk you over to the wood. I have to get my camera on here so I can see what I'm doing. Hold on a minute. There we go. So these are all stickered up sets of guitar making wood. You can see the flame on that maple, right?
Yeah.
The figure. And then the African mahogany is right up on top there. and I got a whole bunch more there. And so there's everything from Italian spruce and cedar and koa wood and all kinds of lovely things. And so there you go. I'm going to head on back. Do this thing again. There we go. And we're back looking up my nose.
All right.
Now I do repair work too. It's repair and restoration is probably the bulk of what I do, because I only want to make 2 guitars a year for people. Acoustic guitars. I build electric guitars too. But if I only make a couple a year, it feels much more like an art, and I'm not under the gun to crank out guitars so that it becomes passionless. I wouldn't want that to happen. I went to Hawaii a bunch of years ago with this incredibly lovely woman. And we came back with a log, little small log, and I made this ukulele about 10 years ago. Koa ukulele with the traditional Hawaiian rope binding and a tone port.
Huh.
And so there's some more wood for you. That's what koa, which is a Hawaiian wood. Let me put this down somewhere safe. So ukuleles and guitars, and let's see, I'll do this again for you. How's that? Let me do a little. These are 3 guitars I built. There's an acoustic, my electric resonator, and just a pretty cool little zebra wood guitar. And I built the electric resonators have been played by the Dead and Bob Dylan's band and the Doobie Brothers and Lucinda Williams and a bunch of folks. Let me spin this around again. There we are.
So when you get in kind of a piece that you're restoring or repairing, in general, is there a specific type of repair that, I mean, I assume you do the full breadth of repairs, but is there something that's more common than others?
A lot of people dry their guitars out, Chris, in the wintertime. The house gets hot, might even have a wood stove going. And when you dry out your guitars unintentionally, leaving them out on a stand or on the wall or even in a case but without a humidifier inside the strings, the wood shrinks and your bridge can lift up and your neck angle can go bad and you get cracks. It can be very severe and very expensive. And I get a lot of the running the gamut from just a lifting bridge to cracks, neck angles that have gone bad. In fact, I'm going to do this again. I have to be careful because the switch camera is very close to the leave muting button. But this is a nice old Martin that I steamed the neck out of the other day.
Yeah.
Neck is right here. And what I have to do is I have to take this neck heel and I have to carve it back so that when it goes back into the joint, it lays back at the correct angle again so the strings won't be too high. And that's called a neck reset.
Okay.
And that's sort of the bypass surgery of guitar repairs, because it takes an awful lot of time to learn how to really get good at it, because you're using chisels and files and you're changing the way the geometry of the guitar. And if you're off by 1/2 of a millimeter in any direction, it just won't play correctly.
Sure.
So yeah, after 30 years, I'm finally, it's coming so second nature to me now. And I've been doing them for 30 years, but I took 3 necks out the other day and it was just, it was kind of like putting on my socks in the morning. So it's a nice feeling. You have to stick at something for a long, long, long time before it becomes instinctive. And at 30 years, most of what it's funny because I could have retired at 30 years just when I was starting to figure it all out.
Yep.
Instead, I moved to Vermont and started over and bought a tractor. And, you know, between sugar and being in the woods up here with that lovely gal in the upper right-hand corner and
left.
Well, you're in my whatever. So now you know what she's correcting me.
It's different for everyone.
So, just anything you want to know. Let me. You want me to walk around the shop and show you some tools and stuff?
Yeah, I'd love to see the tools
All right.
behind the trade.
All right. Well, here's the newest side bending machine. Uses a screw to push down the waist, and you take metal sheets with the sides in between, and it's heated up with electric heating pads, and then you turn these, and it goes down along the mold, and you let it cool, and then when the sides are cool, you pop them out, you put them into the mold. You have to take the crow off first, however. And then they get assembled. Here's a system I use when I'm gluing the braces on. This just got a little scorched once, but it's gum rubber, so it protects the wood. But you put the top in the back and the braces, and then these cool little fiberglass bars act as clamps between the top and the bottom. It's called a go bar deck. And you can do all the braces at once with this cool little gizmo. The most important tools, of course, in any guitar shop are the microwave, toaster oven, coffee machine, and mini fridge. And I've got a lot of things hung up that are pending being on the benches. Nice bandsaw over here, my sanding center, several different kinds of sanders, a lathe, another side bending machine that I can use to do cutaways, vintage drill. I've got oscillating spindle sander, jigsaw, and a little benchtop double sanding rig here. And then one of the most wonderful tools I've ever found, this Clousing mill from the 1960s. And even though I have this really amazing vintage drill press that works better than any drill press I've ever seen, you cannot compare a drill press to a real mill. And I use this for the bulk of my drilling and boring and slotting. Awesome. And I have a spray booth over here. So I can do an awful lot. I was really, oh yeah, this is the old dentist chair from the 20s. This is where the customers sit. Some of them get very nervous, but I moved the antique dental drill away from, I had it mounted right next to it, and it actually runs, and it was sort of a joke, but it scared too many of my customers. So I'm actually using it on my bench now as a grinding tool.
All right, repurposing.
I had all these tough guys come in here, and they'd see that dentist chair, and then they'd see the drill, and they'd go and find a chair and sit somewhere else.
Well, dentistry doesn't really bother me personally, but if you were practicing as if it were the 1920s, I might change my mind. That's awesome. So when you create when you're done either repairing or restoring, does it condition in your workshop for a period of time before you then send it back to?
I actually let it climatize here first. Okay. For at least a couple weeks, sometimes even a couple months if it's really, really dried out. I keep my climate right where Martin and Taylor do, and 45% humidity year round. You see it right there. And in the worst, driest winters, I managed to do that quite easily because we did a really thorough job of closed cell foam underneath the joists, up in the ceiling, under the floors. Yep. All around. It's literally a vapor tight envelope here, except when I leave windows cracked, things like that. But I can hold my humidity here beautifully. It's a perfect climate for this. So when a guitar gets climatized, I can then do the work. And once I'm done, I let it sit for at least a day or two, or maybe a week, just to sort of watch it and maybe give it a little adjustment before I either call the customer or ship it back to wherever it belongs.
Okay.
You can't do this kind of work if you don't have really accurate climate control.
Yeah, I believe you there. Having worked some with barrels in the spirits industry, it's, climate's everything.
Yeah, well, if those barrels are a little too dry, that precious ambrosia will leak out.
It's true.
Ben, what do you do for a living?
Me?
Are you a guitar
roasting
player?
Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Ben.
I'm a.
I didn't recognize you.
I shaved.
It's nice to see you.
Yeah.
Ben is,
I'm an amateur. Yeah.
I love your coffee.
Very amateur guitar player. Thank you.
You come over and we'll have some coffee together. I'll buy some of your coffee and make you drink it with me.
So as soon as this 6-foot distancing's over.
Yeah, I hope things are going well for the coffee house and roasting. You know, at least you can do curbside beans and stuff still, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. So the cafe is closed right now, but I'm doing deliveries, and there's been a lot of support. So I mean, in the past 24 hours, we've pretty much hit the same kind of capacity the cafe had, just with online orders alone. So
well, good luck. It's a tough time for any business.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's whatever we come out on the other side is going to be the big question. So
yeah, if you ever need another guitar, somebody gave me one that needs a little bit of work that it's probably not really playable, but it might make a nice decoration or something. Just to pass it on. So if you're ever interested in something like that, let me know.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So I also invite people to come by just to see the place. You don't have to have a job to come visit. I don't mean a career. I mean a repair job. You don't need to actually be bringing me work. You can just come and see the place and say hi. Anybody who wants to.
Yeah, it's certainly on my list. Swing by and see the shop.
What's the craziest kind of repair you've had to do, like that someone and said, "This is my baby, please try to recover it"?
Oh my God. Listen, guitar players over 30 years. I think that the craziest one was this woman showed up with the 1960s Stratocaster. I mean, we're talking Holy Grail, right? It was broken in half. The whole body was just shattered in two halves. And everything was like all like this, and the pickups and the pick guard and the neck was at and I said, "What? This thing looks like somebody threw it out a window." And she goes, "Yeah, I did. It's my husband's." I said, "But this brake doesn't look like it just from falling out of a window." She goes, "Well, it's not." I said, "What happened?" She goes, "I threw a toilet out the window on top of it." And that was probably the craziest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've got quite a few that were close.
Yeah.
Another woman brought me a Taylor guitar with little triangular wedge-shaped holes through the top. And it was her boyfriend's, and she hit it with a carving knife.
Oh, wow.
And she said, "You can make it look like it never happened, right?"
You're like, how much?
Oh. I didn't take that job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's nice to be able to turn some down occasionally.
Oh my goodness.
Now you said
those crazy things don't happen here though as much. That was a Long Island. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on in New York.
Now you work on more than just ukuleles and guitars as well. You do pretty much all fretted instruments.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, mandolins, things like that. No, I don't work on violins or anything. I don't really know enough about them to get into that.
What's the most unique fretted instrument you've worked on?
Oh, a couple of old turn of the century Gibson harp guitars. Those were pretty cool, with the separate harp neck and all the harp strings that you play and that sympathetic vibration. I worked on this really cool harp guitar that I had to restore the missing harp neck on. It belonged to Mae West. And that was a really cool job.
Yeah.
I learned a lot on that job too, about how to make stuff, because nobody makes parts. You have to find little turnbuckles for the adjustable exterior rod. You know, guess what? The sailing store up here, West Marine, has the exact same turnbuckle. It's like 98% match to what would have been on the guitar. So you just source parts from everywhere you can, and you MacGyver it together, and when it's done, it's very satisfying.
That's incredible. I've only ever seen like pictures of harp. They're kind of like one of those you almost expect to see them in like a crypto museum. They're like these.
They're really cool. They're big and hard to play, and the necks are clunky, and the harp neck is like right up next to your face, and you can barely see what you're doing. But they're very, very cool.
Huh.
Now, how long's your wait list if you're only putting out a few custom jobs a year?
I tell people 18 months to 24 months to complete an acoustic, and about 6 months to 9 months for an electric. And I do everything by hand, like my neck joints are back saws, and so it takes a while. And I also, when I just got hired by somebody here in Vermont to build a guitar, and it's really wonderful when somebody is local enough that they can come to the shop and come on down, we'll glue the back on. And they're putting the glue and they're putting the clamps on with me, and they feel that way their heart and their sweat is in the guitar before they even take possession of it, and they're part of the process. One guy actually poked his finger on a tool and started bleeding, and he was reaching for paper towel, and I stopped him, and I put his finger into the glue along the edge of the linings, and we mixed the blood in with the glue before we glued the top back on it. And he was like, "Wow, I'm in that guitar forever, man." So that was kind of cool. And he was the kind of guy who would really, really appreciate that. He was a dear friend, and I knew that it was like, it can't be more personal than having your own DNA inside the glue.
Yeah, that's true.
Put some soul in it, right? That's awesome.
So
awesome. Well, we're getting close to time. I don't know if anybody else has any last questions. If not, I just want to thank you.
I've got a million questions, but
well, yeah, I do too. But in the interest of time here, we can always bring Scott back on to chat again and show us round two.
Thank you for asking me to do it.
Yeah, thank you.
It was nice meeting Trevor, and Ben. I'm sorry it took so long to recognize you.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I've had that beard for quite a while, so. But I've been wearing masks when I'm processing, so like it wasn't really a good thing to have on my face anymore. So.
Well, thank you again, Scott. Scott
nice
MacDonald.
meeting you guys, and thanks for your help today getting set up with Zoom, Miriam. I appreciate it. All right, bye-bye. I'm gonna
thanks.
catch you later.
Appreciate it.